Orchid Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is not kitchen time. I've said several times there won't be any more kitchen time for some time, so this isn't kitchen time. It's just some time that's being spent in the kitchen. It's not kitchen time. And that's before I even start on the wine. Right, I'm going to have a go at mounting 3 of these 4 little seedlings that were given to me a while ago. They were given to me as a test for the lights. I was given 6. The idea was to put 3 under the lights and 3 not under the lights and see if they grew any different through the winter. And none of them have been out of their pots. So I don't know what we're going to get. And I know what we're going to get is we should have had them out of the pot some time ago. Ooh, that is frowsty, to say the least. But anyway, what we've got is lots of dead roots in the middle and some relatively new ones that are pushed out around the outside that are good. These are good. These are not good. There's one. Less good roots on this one. Quite a few less. And this one's got very few good roots. A bit of a trim. Some of the dead ones off. And see what's left. That's 2. And this one. These are moniliforme, and they were actually produced from seed by a friend. And it's one of his own hybrids. It's effectively what to me sounds like a bit of a daft idea. He's taken the original moniliforme and hybridized it with the one with the variegated leaves. Well, I don't know what is hoped to be achieved. Think about it, yeah? The one with the variegated leaves is a very attractive plant. The blooms are the same, they don't really come out any different. And moniliforme is strange. It's like the neophanetas. There's like a culture that's built up around them, certainly in Japan. So there are many neophanetas. There is only one really, but there are many named forms. And it's like a mini culture going on in Japan to collect as many of the named forms as you possibly can. So they've all got, well, in the case of the neophanetas, Japanese names, as one would expect. It's their idea, and that's where the plants originate anyway. Manky bit. That'll do. But it's the same with the Dendrobium moniliforme. There are lots of named forms. The differences on them are quite difficult to see, but nonetheless they're there. What this is the one with the variegated leaves crossed back with the plain variety, but I think the plain variety was one of the named forms. What that ends up with I really don't know, but I used to have the variegated leaf one. It just would not grow for me. I mean, these are a bit of a nuisance in my environment because they are cool growers, so I'm not very happy in the summer. And I think what did mine in was having it in the to keep it cool, we stuck it right in front of the big circulating fans, which obviously kept dehydrating it. It was mounted, and I think I just kept drying it out too fast, so didn't do it much good. But it ended up in such a poor way that I decided I didn't want to look at it anymore. So it went. It ceased to be. I don't know what's going to happen with these little ones. Quite honestly, the experiment was non-conclusive. The main reason was probably because these don't really grow much in the winter. So whether they were under the lights or not probably didn't make any difference, because the temperature overrode the lights, and because it's cool in my grow room in the winter, that ended up being the dominant factor, I think. So the fact that they had extra light or not, as the case may be, didn't really make that much difference to their growing. But the named form on these labels I cannot read, and I did ask the guy what it said, and he told me, and I've forgotten. And I won't ask him again because he'll get cross. He expects you to remember things if he tells you things. If you bothered to ask and he bothered giving you the answer, he doesn't expect you to forget. Right, that's those three. Instant mess out the way. Now this mount had quite distinct ridges on it, so I've just basically gone down them with a serrated knife to level this off a little bit. And it was the same round the back. The mount really curled round quite dramatically, so I just cut those off to make it flatter, which will make it easier to tie. That's all it's for. But, right, and we're going to use live moss. Right, let's get some tying on stuff. Now this is going to be a faff, the genuine article, simply because I'm going to try and fix 3 plants to one mount. And they're all going to have to be tied individually. So I'm going to have to put a loop round all 3 of them before I even think about getting some moss. So it will be a little bit fiddly, but we'll see what we can do. Kitchen time always seems to end up at the end of the day. I suppose it's because I always do my watering first, because that takes priority, because that needs to be done. Mucking about in the kitchen is like a, I'm just going to say it's like a hobby. You know what I mean? It's not an essential. It's you know, needs to be done at some point, but doesn't necessarily have to be done right this minute. So it gets left until the end of the day, and then depending on what time that is, I may or may not do a bit in the kitchen. Some days I get to that point in the day and I think that's it, I've had enough, I'm not going to do anything else. And other days I've still got some life left in me, so I think we'll have a go at something else. It's not always to do with orchids, sometimes it'll be something entirely different. Now the only decision really here is, do we plant them as a cluster, pretending that they're one plant, or do we put them as individual plants and spread them out? Quite honestly, I think I'm going to cluster them, which is going to make them easier to fit as well. Now, each one of these has a single new growth, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 at the back with a new growth pointing in each direction, and then the other one I'm going to put at the front with the new growth at the front. So they're going to go on like that, and the one that's going at the front will point outwards. Yeah, it'll have to, so that the roots can go flat on the mount. So that's going to go on like that. Now, am I going to be able to hold that in place? That one's easy. Just go over the top of the rhizomes. That's that one done. This one, I'll go, I haven't got one around the back, so I'm going to have to go over the top of that. Come on, stop messing me about. Over the top of that one, and I'll go over the top of that one, pull it down a little bit, and then pull it round. Now, have I got everything? Yes, yes, yes. Right. Spread out, happy with the roots? Yes. Right, now I'm going to turn that over and tie it, simply because I want both hands to play with the moss. This will be fun. About a metre and a half here, because I've got to find the end to be able to tie it, so we'll just pull that through. Dear, oh dear. I think we might have a little bit too much there. Just tie that off. We can turn over and not worry about having to hold on to anything. Start playing with some moss. Must remember not to tip this time because it has actually got a layer of water in the bottom. So, I mean, these roots are not going to attach, and although they're good roots, they're not actively growing as such. I'm surprised they're as good as they are. But we shall see what we can do. And I'm going to make sure I've got some of the fluffy stuff. See if I can get that to grow. Because if I do, it's going to look very nice. Now that bottom plant is a little loose. I can feel it wobbling already. But luckily, the way these have sat down, there isn't actually any roots going up the back. So I've only actually got to put the moss down the sides. Something like that, with a bit more down the bottom, some a bit more fluffy stuff, like that I think. Yep, happy with that. I will be once it's strapped on. And the other beauty of doing that is obviously I can hold this flat so that I've got dead leaf in there like that. Oh, it's actually growing in there. Nutrients. Decaying leaf. Right, so we'll come round and get the bottom part of the moss done first, because that's the part that's most likely to fall off. Get that held. And then we can come back up round and see about getting some. I'm going to have to pass across rhizomes now, but I need these to be reasonably firm. If they're going to start to grow well, they will need to feel secure, and that is something that it comes from having their base firm against something and their roots held. So I have to go back over there somewhere. I'm just going to wiggle this in and out these rhizomes at the back. Oh, I daren't go there. Oh. Garrot the new growth right off if I do that. So we'll go round behind that one and behind that one and then round there. And that's like a zigzag through the top of the plant. Is everything nice and tight. Yep, happy with that. I've got enough for one more loop, so I'll go round somewhere else. Actually, I think what I'll do is I'll add a little tiny bit more moss down the base there, because I've got some exposed roots, so we'll just put a little bit more in that area, and I've got one more loop to hold it on. Yeah, that's virtually everything then, and then that loop will just go over that section of moss, and we can come back up, tie it off. Where's my other end gone? That's decided to get tangled up. There we go. For those of you who struggle with knots with fishing line, because it does have a habit of you tie a knot and as soon as you turn your back it slips undone before you've got the next one done. If you use a reef knot, which is right over left, left over right, or you can do it the other way round, but either way you tie the knot with the same end and they grip. Right, there we go then. So that does actually look like one plant, doesn't it? Yeah, we've got a new growth coming up this side, new growth coming out this side, and then another new growth coming out near the base. So it's going to grow in three directions. And if this now gets a hold, it could push out some other new growths from different places. The one thing I forgot to do was give these a spray with hydrogen peroxide, because a couple of them did actually have some scale. And I completely forgot. Oh well, we'll deal with them later. They're just, it's easier to deal with them while they're bare rooted, because you can just get at every single part of the base up underneath the lot. They're just easier to deal with. but I haven't seen any on those plants for a while. Now I'll keep one of the tags. I'll show you what I mean. His handwriting is appalling. So what we've got on there is Dendrobium moniliforme, variegata, I can read that bit, crossed with the bit I can't read. Now on that it looks like R-A-I-T-O-U. On that it looks like R-A-I-T-A-N. And that looks like T-A-N as well. Or it could be T-A-U. The writing is just nondescript. So I'm just going to call it Dendrobium moniliforme. Because I don't care. It's not like it's going to go in a show or anything. And we'll see how that does. As I say, the last one didn't do very well mounted, but I think it wasn't the fact that it was mounted it complained about, it was where the mount was actually put for the plant to grow, and it objected to that strong blast of air all over it. So we'll see how this one does, or these three, and we'll go from there. No tag on there, but as I say, it's I'm certainly not going to put one of these tags on because I still do not know what that says. Well, it's definitely a capital R, and it's an A with an I, because there's a dot over that one, even though there isn't a dot over that one. So that makes the first three letters distinctive. The next one is definitely a T, because it's been crossed right across there and a bit, and there. It's the next two letters that are debatable. That looks like an OU or an ON. That looks like AU or AN, and that one looks like AN or AU. So maybe I'll pluck up courage to ask him and get my head bitten off, which is what he normally does if you ask him the same thing twice, but we shall see. Right, there we go then. Quick mount, 3 plants onto one mount, and we'll see how it does. Hopefully it does a bit better. There's no sign of any variegation on here, so I think the cross has effectively reverted back to the plain leafed variety, but it could develop some partial variegation as it grows, as the canes get bigger and mature a bit. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, won't we? See you next time. Bye for now.